time for us to move forward and take up the calculative examples ahead. And when we do so, what I would want you to do is have a careful understanding with respect to each calculation. And to begin with, we get started with this question number 16. So let us read this question first. The annual credit sales of X Limited were rupees 48 lakhs. The company offers 3 months credit to its customers. Currently, the bad debt losses are 2% of total credit sales. The company appoints a factor who would collect the receivables at a fees of 5% on a non-recourse basis. It is expected that administrative and collection cost of X Limited will reduce by rupees 8,000 per month. The factor also agrees to advance to the company by charging interest of 15% per annum. The factor would maintain a reserve of 25% on the debtors balance for providing such advance. Assume that interest and commission are paid to the factor at end of each cycle. Determine effective cost of factoring. So friends, first of all, when you are solving a question like this, you really need to understand how exactly you are going to take each and every calculation. Look at one thing. In the question, first of all, if you observe, what is given is the total annual credit sales, that is 48 lakhs, and the company offers 3 months credit to its customers. Now, first of all, with the understanding of accounts receivable turnover ratio, you know what you have to do. If the credit period is 3 months, that means in one entire year of 12 months, there will be how many cycles of collection? There will be 12 divided by 3, that will be 4 different cycles of collection. We call this as 4 different factoring cycles within 1 year. So what will happen if the calculation goes for the entire year? For the entire year, the sale is 48 lakhs, but for each cycle, the sale will be 12 lakhs. So at a time, your debtors balance should be worked out. So how do you calculate the average debtors balance? Average debtors balance will be the total annual credit sales into 3 months divided by 12 months, because in this case you have given 3 months credit period to your customers to pay. So your average debtors balance will be 48 lakhs into 3 by 12, that will be 12 lakhs. So at one point of time, when you are appointing the factor cannot collect 48 lakhs, because in one cycle your sale is just 12 lakhs. So understand, 48 lakhs of total annual sales, you can break it into 4 cycles of 12 lakhs, 12 lakhs, 12 lakhs and 12 lakhs. So when you are asking the factor to go for collection, in one cycle the factor will be collecting a maximum amount of 12 lakhs, correct? Now, the factor is also willing to give you advance by maintaining 25% reserve. So basically, all our receivables, all our debtors, the right to collect money from them has been given to the factor. So factor knows that factor will receive 12 lakhs, but by end of 3 months, initially the factor is willing to give advance to the company, and the amount of advance will be obtained or will be arrived at after deducting 25% reserve. So 25% reserve will be 25% of 12 lakhs. So 12 lakhs minus 25%. 25% of 12 lakhs is 3 lakhs. So 12 lakhs minus 3 lakhs, amount to be advanced by the factor on which the company will have to pay interest, that will be an amount of 9 lakhs which will be advanced by the factor. So please try to understand what will happen during each cycle. Each cycle, when I am making sales of 12 lakhs, why I am saying sales of 12 lakhs? Because in each cycle, which is 1/4 of the entire year. Why 1/4 of the entire year? Credit period is 3 months and 1 year is comprising of 12 months. So in 1 year, how many cycles will arise? 4 cycles. So each cycle has a period of 3 months. So proportionately, for each cycle, the sale will be 1/4 of 48 lakhs, that will be 12 lakhs. So I have made a sale of 12 lakhs, asked my factor to go and collect that 12 lakhs. Factor already paid me 9 lakhs as advance. So now factor has yet to pay another 3 lakhs. But what will happen by end of the cycle? Factor will deduct two things. Number one, factor will deduct his fees. Factor will deduct interest on that advance out of that 3 lakhs. So 12 lakhs is the amount that the factor will collect from my debtors. Factor will deduct 9 lakhs which is already advanced. Factor will deduct another component that will be the factor fees, and factor will also deduct from that money the interest on that advance, and then the balance amount the factor will pay it back to me. Then the cycle doesn't end over there. That means one cycle is over, but the sequence doesn't end over there, because one cycle getting over, another cycle will begin. So again in the next cycle, the factor will again give me advance of 9 lakhs, and I will give the collection responsibility to collect 12 lakhs of amount, and that goes on and on. So actually speaking, throughout the year, the company will have advance of that 9 lakh rupees, and on that the company will have to pay interest. Now you can have two different ways of computing all the required calculations. One is on a per cycle basis, or one will be for the entire year. In this question, they have asked you to compute the effective cost of factoring for the year, not for one cycle, for the entire year. So you can directly go for the cost of factoring calculation for the entire year. Now when you calculate the cost of factoring, what will be the outflow from your pocket? From the company's pocket, the factor fees will be an outflow, and the interest given to the factor will be another outflow. But currently already the company is having some bad debts. Because the factoring is on a non-recourse basis, once this factoring arrangement is entered into, the company will no more bear the burden of bad debts. As a result, the bad debts that were arising already, we will start saving that bad debt. That will be a benefit to the company. And some kind of collection charges what the company was incurring earlier, the company will have savings in those collection charges also. So there will be one component of factor fees which is an outflow, another component of interest which is also an outflow, then there will be some savings in bad debts and some savings in administration and collection cost. So all your costs minus all your savings, you arrive at the net cost, and that net cost, whatever you get for the entire year, that is the cost incurred for having an advance of 9 lakhs from the factor. You can take the cost divided by 9 lakhs, and that will give you the cost of factoring on an effective basis throughout the year. So let us do one thing, let us write up all these calculations, and once you have finished writing the calculations, wherever required I will provide additional explanation as well. So let us first observe on how to present the solution for this question. In your solution, what you will first do is calculation of amount advanced by the factor and interest thereon. So average balance of debtors, as I have explained you, it will be 12 lakhs. How we got 12 lakhs? It is 48 lakhs into 3 by 12. From this you deduct the reserve of 25%. 25% of 12 lakhs is 3 lakhs. What you get is net advance to the company, that will be 9 lakhs, and interest on that advance for the entire year, that interest will be at the rate of 15% on 9 lakhs, that is 1,35,000. Let us move ahead, and now what we do is we start computing the cost of factoring for the year, and here you begin with the factor fees. Factor fees will be 5% of total amount that the factor is supposed to collect throughout the year. So understand, in one cycle the factor has to collect 12 lakhs, but in the entire year the factor has a responsibility to make collection of 48 lakhs, and therefore don't forget the heading that we have put in, it is cost of factoring for the year. Had it been for one cycle, we would have taken 5% of 12 lakhs, but because it is for the entire year, it is 5% of 48 lakhs, that is 2,40,000. Interest charged by factor is 1,35,000, and we have already shown how we got 1,35,000. So this will be the total annual outflow, and whatever savings you have made, you just subtract those savings. So first saving is savings in bad debts, that will be 2% of 48 lakhs. Understand one thing, 2% of 48 lakhs, that is 96,000. This much bad debt is arising already. Now with the appointment of the factor, this bad debt will be taken over by the factor, means factor will bear the loss of bad debt, the company will not bear the loss of bad debt. As a result, from 3,75,000 you subtract this amount of bad debt that we have now effectively saved, and then also subtract the savings in administration and collection cost at the rate of 8,000 per month. For the entire year it will be 96,000. So when you subtract these savings, the net annual cost comes to 1,83,000, and that net annual cost is for the advance of 9 lakhs, and the cost of factoring on effective basis will be 1,83,000. The net annual cost divided by the net amount advanced by the factor, that is 9 lakhs. So 1,83,000 divided by 9 lakhs into 100 gives you 20.33% per annum. Now there may be certain doubts in students' mind while attempting this whole calculation. Let me discuss those points on a summarized basis. Fact number 1, point number 1, I would say that, sir, at a time the sale what we are having in one cycle, it is 12 lakhs. So the factor fees should be 5% of 12 lakhs. Answer to that I would say is 5% of 12 lakhs is definitely fine, but that will be the factor fees for one round of collection, that is for one cycle. Don't forget, we are having 4 cycles in the year, and this calculation what we have made, it is for the entire year. Second doubt about interest, that, sir, why are we computing interest at 15% per annum on 9 lakhs if it is for the whole year? If it is for the whole year, then why 9 lakhs of advance you are considering? 9 lakhs was advance in one cycle, so for 4 cycles advance will be 36 lakhs. 4 times of 9 lakhs, 36 lakhs. That is a wrong notion. If a student has that thing in their mind, that is a wrong notion in their mind. Why it is wrong? Factor will never give you 36 lakhs. Why? What is your average balance of debtors? 12 lakhs. Factor is never advancing a penny more than 9 lakhs. So basically you should not multiply 4 times to 9 lakhs. What is required, if we have to calculate the interest for the entire year, you would take what? 9 lakhs is the amount of advance, that you cannot multiply by 4 lakhs. This into 15% gives you 1,35,000 as interest. That 1,35,000 as interest is already the interest for the entire year. However, suppose you wanted to calculate interest only for one cycle, then how do you compute interest for 3 months? It will be amount advanced into the rate of interest into the time, that is 3 by 12. So in that case it will be 9 lakhs into 15% into 3 by 12, and that comes to 33,750. So 33,750 is the amount of interest or the interest cost for one cycle. For the entire year, where there will be 4 cycles, you multiply by 4 to get that as 1,35,000, which we have already reported over there on top as 1,35,000, because we wanted to calculate for the entire year, not for just one cycle. Some students would say, sir, we are still confused, sir, because 9 lakhs is the amount of advance for each cycle. I say yes, 9 lakhs is the amount for each cycle as advance. Then, sir, for entire year the total advance should be 36 lakhs. No, advance will never go to 36 lakhs. Let me explain this point. Let us observe the whole process the way we have learned it in the initial part. Annual total credit sales in this example is 48 lakhs. Credit period is 3 months. So in each quarter, 3 months is one quarter, right? So in each quarter what will be the amount of sales? 48 lakhs into 3 by 12. So we can say that we will have 4 cycles of sales. Each cycle will be sale of 12 lakhs, 12 lakhs, 12 lakhs, 12 lakhs. Agreed? And each cycle duration is 3 months. Each cycle duration is 3 months and sales in each cycle is 12 lakhs. When I appoint the factor, when I call the factor, I will tell the factor, look factor, these are my debtors, you go and collect money from them. You tell me one thing, how much is my debtor standing at that particular day when I am appointing the factor? 12 lakhs, not 48 lakhs, correct? How much is my debtor standing at that day? 12 lakhs. How much advance the factor will give me? 75% of 12 lakhs, or you can say 12 lakhs minus 25%, whatever you feel like, you can go ahead with that. So either take 75% of 12 lakhs or 12 lakhs minus 25%. Either way you will land up at an advance amount of rupees 9 lakhs. Can we agree on that? 9 lakhs will be the amount of advance. Factor gave me 9 lakhs already. So 9 lakhs already I have received. Out of 12 lakhs I have already received 9 lakhs. Now factor will charge fees of 5%. 5% fees will be charged by factor on 12 lakhs, not 48 lakhs, 12 lakhs. So 12 lakhs, why? Because I am not calculating now for the entire year, I am calculating for one cycle, one cycle, one cycle. So 12 lakhs is the amount supposed to be collected by the factor. 12 lakhs the factor will collect and I will pay commission or fees of 5% on 12 lakhs. 5% of that comes to 60,000. Agreed? 60,000. Now interest for each cycle, 9 lakh is the amount of advance into 15% rate for the entire year into 3 by 12. That gives you interest of 33,750. 33,750, correct? Interest of 33,750. Now, how much money the factor will collect? If the factor is collecting even 11,99,000, I am not bothered with that. Factor still has to pay me 12 lakhs because the factoring is on a non-recourse basis. Do you agree with me that factoring being on non-recourse basis, loss of bad debt will be borne by the factor? So why should I even talk about bad debts now? I should not even talk about bad debts. How much money did the factor collect from debtors? I would say 12 lakhs he has collected from the debtors. I am talking about one cycle, one cycle, one cycle. 12 lakhs collected minus factor has already given me 9 lakhs, correct? Factor has already given me 9 lakhs. I subtract 9 lakhs. How much remains? 3 lakhs remain. Out of this the factor will deduct his fees of 60,000, correct? And factor will also deduct interest of 33,750. How much is the balance amount? Do you know? On my calculator screen what is visible? 2,06,250. So factor will come and give me that balance amount in my hand. 2,06,250 will be the amount that I will receive. 2,06,250, correct? That means then one cycle is over. Factor will ask me, sir, can I go now? I will say, no, factor, wait, let us have one more cycle. By that time I have made another sales of 12 lakhs, correct? And now I am asking the factor to again go and collect this 12 lakhs. Again the factor will advance me. 75% of that 12 lakhs, that is 9 lakhs. But it is not old 9 lakhs plus new 9 lakhs taken together becoming 18 lakhs, because old 9 lakhs got squared off. Why? When it got squared off, when this factor deducted 9 lakhs out of 12 lakhs while giving me that final balance of 2,06,250. That time that old 9 lakhs the factor has already recovered. Now factor is giving me new amount. You tell me one thing, when I make sales on credit on month basis, what did we learn right from the beginning? While we talk about average balance of debtors, the old balance from the customers will be collected and new balance will arise. Old will be recovered, new will arise. Old will be recovered, new will arise. Exactly same way, in this case also the factor has already got back his initial advance of 9 lakhs. He has advanced me 9 lakhs. He has recovered it back by end of the cycle, that is by end of 3 months. If the second cycle begins, again the factor is advancing 9 lakh rupees. Are you people understanding my point? So at one point of time, at any point of time during the year, the factor advance will never go beyond 9 lakh rupees. That is why when you compute interest for the entire year, it is 9 lakhs into 15% for the entire year. And if you want to make the calculation for one cycle, then it will be 9 lakhs into 15% into 3 by 12. So one another way of solving this question could be, all these calculations we don't make for the entire year. All these calculations we make for one cycle, and whatever be the cost of factoring for one cycle, then we multiply by 4 cycles during the year to get the effective cost per annum. Even that could be an approach. Don't ever get confused. Either make calculation on per annum basis or per cycle basis, whatever you like. Question asked you what? Question asked you what? Per annum or per cycle? Question asked you per annum. So we directly made calculations per annum. If we make calculation for each cycle, then we will have a responsibility to multiply 4 cycles at the end, because the calculation that we will obtain will be for one cycle, but the question is asking for the entire year. So let us do one thing. Let us write an alternative mode of solving this question, and that will be on a per cycle basis initially. So please carefully take note of this whole thing. In this alternate method of solving this question, you can write calculation of cost of factoring for each cycle, and the factor fees will be 5% of 12 lakhs, because in one cycle the sale made is 12 lakhs. Interest charged by factor, it will be 9 lakhs into 15% into 3 by 12, that is 33,750. Aggregate of these two is 93,750. Less savings in bad debt, but I am now taking 2% of 12 lakhs, right? 24,000. Savings in administration and collection cost will be 8,000 per month, but now 8,000 per month will be multiplied by 3 months. So your net cost per cycle comes to 45,750. Now find your effective cost of factoring for each cycle of 3 months. The denominator, that is the amount of advance, remains 9 lakhs. The numerator gets altered. It is 45,750 as a net cost for each cycle. So this percentage comes to 5.0833% for each cycle. Let us move ahead and now find out the annual effective cost of factoring. When you have made calculation for each cycle, you would have got cost of factoring for each cycle, that you should now multiply by number of cycles per annum. So in our case, it will be 5.0833% for each cycle multiplied by 4 cycles, that will eventually give you 20.33% per annum, what we have originally obtained when we have made calculations directly for 1 year. So you can just make the calculation either directly on a per annum basis, or first you make the calculation on per cycle basis and then multiply by 4 cycles. Choice is yours. I will prefer that if it is a per annum calculation required, I will directly make the calculation for the entire year. Now let me take an opportunity to explain you one very important thing. Most of you might be wondering now that, sir, fine that we have understood this calculation of cost of factoring. We have even understood what is the meaning of cost of factoring. Everything clear. But sir, you haven't explained us yet. Why did we do this calculation? What is the usefulness of this calculation? What is the utility of this calculation? Where are we going to use this calculation? Where will we apply this calculation? Sir, can you please explain this point to us? That could be a question in your mind, and that is the right thing that I am about to talk on the same point. One thing for arranging our working capital requirement is we can appoint a factor. When we appoint the factor, factor will make the collection process easier for us, because factor will get involved in the collection. Factor will even bear the loss of bad debts if there is any non-recourse kind of arrangement, as we have seen in this case. Factor will do all the efforts. Imagine, instead of factor, if we go to bank can give us an advance. Will bank ever bear the loss of bad debts? Bank will never bear loss of bad debts. Will bank make collection on behalf of me? Bank will not make collection on behalf of me. Bank will not bear loss of bad debts. Bank will just give me advance and collect interest from me. Can we agree on that? So, if you agree with me on that, imagine a situation where we have two alternatives, that factor is also willing to advance, say at 18%, and bank is also willing to advance at 15%. Some people may get wrong on a point. They may get diverted into a wrong track, that by comparing rate of interest charged by the factor with the rate of interest charged by the bank, and comparing these two, if you want to decide which will be a better alternative, you cannot do that ever. Why? Because bank and factor are two different people. Factor is doing a lot of activities for you. Bank is not doing a lot of activities for you. Bank is giving you only advance. That means the bank's rate cannot be compared with the factor's interest rate. Therefore, what we do is, if we want to compare, suppose bank has given offer of 15% interest and factor is giving offer of just 11% interest. So it will be madness to compare 15% with 11%. You should never do that. You should first land up at effective cost of factoring. Effective cost of factoring should then be compared with the bank's interest rate, and then you can take a decision whether you should go for factor financing or bank financing. So what I will do is, I'll take you to the next question, where we get into calculative examples of this type, where you will get a better understanding about this kind of situation. So question number 17 is the next one. Let us first of all read this question. It says, X Limited makes a sales of rupees 80 lakhs a year. Credit period offered to customers is 3 months. Company wants advance against its debtors and considers two different alternatives, that is bank financing and factor financing. Bank has offered to finance 80% of average debtors at interest of 15% per annum, whereas factor has offered to finance 80% of average debtors at interest of 12% per annum. Administrative cost relating to collection is rupees 10,000 per month. Presently, bad debts amounts to 2% of total credit sales. As the factoring arrangement is on non-recourse basis, the company will be saving bad debts as well as the administrative cost if the financing is done through the factor. For the factoring arrangement, the factor will charge a fee of 5% on the targeted collection. Suggest which alternative will be better, bank financing or factor financing. So now here is the situation where we have to decide between bank financing and factor financing, as if what will be a better course of action. What can be the highest order stupidity by anyone when you read a question like this and you compare 15% is the interest which is charged by bank and factor is charging only 12% interest. So let us go with factor. It will be a madness. It will be a wrong way to approach the scenario. Now, bank will never bear your bad debts. Your bad debts you will have to bear. However, factor will bear your bad debts. Factor will charge a separate fee. Bank is not charging any separate fee. Factor will be asking you to have reduction in your collection efforts and collection cost, because factor is doing that job for you. Bank will not do that job for you. So we can understand one thing, the interest rate quoted by the factor cannot be compared with the bank's interest rate. It will be wrong way to approach the scenario. Let the bank interest rate remain intact, and what we should do is we should find the effective cost of factoring. So keeping aside all the bank's information, you remove all that bank's information from this question, just focus on the factoring arrangement, work out the effective cost of factoring, and that effective cost of factoring percentage what you get, compare with 15% interest rate quoted by bank, and then you will see, you get to know the right thing, whether you should go with bank financing or should you go with the factor financing. What will be the right course of action, you can decide that way. Then to solve this kind of question, yet another alternative way could be, you make a columnar comparison, correct? You make compare all your costs in two columns, that is bank financing and factor financing. So when you talk about interest, put the interest amount of both the columns. When you talk about the bad debts will arise only in bank's column, because in case of factor, bad debt loss is not arising for us. Then if it is factor fees, it is arising only in the factoring arrangement, not in the bank's arrangement. If it is collection charges, it is arising only in the bank financing, because in case of factor is doing the collection work, we will not be incurring that cost. So you can have a comparative analysis, comparative position of bank financing and factor financing, and look at the overall annual cost which is beneficial for you, go with that. That is one way. And the other way I have already explained you earlier, that you compute the effective cost of factoring by percentage and directly compare that with the bank's interest rate, and you will get the same conclusion. The conclusion will never change. That is my guarantee. Now I will show you the solution by both the approaches one by one. You should understand that, and by end of this question, and when you have written down the entire solution, you will automatically understand what is the utility of this effective cost of factoring that we had been calculating. So once you understand why are we making a calculation, then the charm of making that calculation enhances, right? When you know that yes, something it is useful. If scientists who have made all these inventions and discoveries, if they were not knowing what is the benefit of this invention, why the hell they will put all that effort in inventing something like that, right? You have read stories of scientists. When the bulb was invented, I'm sure you know who invented bulb, right? When the bulb was invented, it was not in one go. 1,000 times experimentation was done, all were failures. Then finally that gentleman could invent bulb. But I'm sure all of you in your school days, you would have come across this story that more than 1,000 times the scientist failed. But you know one thing, scientists knew one thing, that all this effort, all this failure is required. Without that, the bulb will not be invented. And what was the utility of the bulb? That scientists knew from the beginning. What is the utility of that bulb? This is going to glow and provide light. And provide light means removing from darkness such a big objective, such a big intent. And that is why from that big objective, with that big need, a big invention has arisen. Like that, when you sit and solve questions of factoring, assume yourself as that great scientist who is going to invent the cost of factoring, and now you already know what is the utility of that cost of factoring. You will compare that with bank's rate, and then you will come to know what financing is beneficial for you, bank financing or factor financing. Once you know why you are making a calculation, your approach, your insight about making that calculation gets better. So let us go ahead with that. So let us see how to present the solution over here. In your solution, you would first write average balance of debtors, and that will be 20 lakhs. I don't have to explain you this kind of calculation any further. Amount advanced by bank or factor, both ways, it will be 80% of the amount of your debtors. For deciding which alternative will be better, the calculation can be made by two different methods. I have Verbally explained you both the methods, but now let us put it by calculation. Let us observe the first method's calculation over here. Method 1, comparative cost statement. So you have bank financing and factor financing. Interest charged by factor, it is 12% of 16 lakhs, that is 1,92,000. Interest charged by bank will be 15% of 16 lakhs, that is 2,40,000. So of course bank interest is coming in bank column and factor interest is coming in the factor column. Factor fees is 5%. It will come only in the factor column. Bad debts will arise only in the bank's column, because if you are financing through bank, the loss of bad debt will come on your head. Correct? Bank will not bear the loss, you will have to bear that loss. Administration cost continues to be incurred by you if you go with bank financing, and if you compare the two, bank financing is still cheaper than factor financing. The total annual cost in bank financing alternative is lower than the total annual cost under factor financing. Therefore, the company should accept the alternative of bank financing. Let us move ahead and we now follow the other method, that is using effective cost of factoring. So calculation of total annual cost on the net basis for alternative of factor financing. Factor fees 5% of 80 lakhs. Interest charged by factor for the entire year 1,92,000. Aggregate of these two is 5,92,000. Less savings in bad debts because it is a non-recourse factoring arrangement, and savings in administration and collection cost. The net cost of factoring on a per annum basis comes to 3,12,000. Let us move ahead and complete the last part of the solution, and here we compute annual effective cost of factoring. That comes to 3,12,000 divided by 16 lakhs into 100, that is 19.5%. The effective cost of factoring is higher than the rate of interest charged by bank. Therefore, the company should prefer the alternative of bank financing. So we are comparing 19.5% with the bank's interest rate of 15%. This is the reason we have learned how to compute this kind of annual effective cost of factoring in percentage.